Hey y'all. So I have been working through every one of my cheek products. I have been wearing all of my bronzers, blushes, and highlights, specifically focusing on my cream products. So I have been working on my powder blushes, but not to the same extent as my creams, because the creams go off a lot faster than the powders. So we're gonna jump into this. I'm gonna lay everything out so y'all can see what we're working with. I'm going to start with the ones I have worn and then we'll move on. And this video, we're only tackling the creams. We're not going to touch the powders. We'll do that in another video. This is not a declutter. This is just a video to familiarize y'all with what I'm working with, for me to get my hands into my makeup and to just have some nice calming overhead blush playtime, because that is what I feel like filming today. So let's jump into it. All right, so with the exception of this, I guess I can pull this out temporarily. These are the cream chic products that I have worn in the last month, 2 months. I'm planning on doing a mid-year declutter in June, so that gives me another month to work through the things I haven't worn. These are the ones I have worn. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about formula. I'm not quite sure how we're going to handle this, but it should be fun. I think we're going to start with contours and highlights and then move on to blush because I have so many more blushes. So I'm going to pull out my blushes and we'll go from there. So these are the bronzers and the highlights that we're working with. I think I only have one cream highlighter that I've worn. So we're going to go ahead and swatch that first. And then I also have the Salt New York. So let's go ahead and tackle those first. So this is Nimue from the Hannah Louise Poston and Salt New York collab. I love this highlighter. It has risen above so many other highlighters in my collection to the point where I am not reaching for my other highlights, and I'm noticing that. It is a balm texture, but it's got a lot more tenacity. It's got kind of a tacky texture, and it gives the most beautiful glowy skin. It is a phenomenal product, and if they ever discontinue this, there will be an uproar, from me at least. The next one we have is the lightest shade, the transparent shade of the Baume Essential from Chanel. This is another balm highlight. You can see here that the one from Salt New York has a little bit of gray to it. I like that because it works in nicely with my blush. The Chanel is just transparent. You can see through it. You can see my skin. You can see my veining through it. And again, this is another balm highlight, but this one dries down. This one stays in place and doesn't budge. I really appreciate that about this highlighter. I kind of want to pull out the ones I haven't worn and do some comparison and figure out why I haven't reached for them. We're going to do that. So this is the palette that I have the rest of my Salt New York products in. We're only going to talk about the highlights right now. So the main highlighter that I have is Salt New York Beige. And I haven't been reaching for this because it, compared to Nimue and the transparent Chanel, this one feels just a little too gold. It also doesn't have the shine that Nimue has. And looking at it in comparison to these other cool tone highlights, it just feels a little obsolete. All right, so I have a few other highlighters in here that I'm gonna pull out. Yeah, that's a highlight, although I use it as a blush. These are bronzers. So here we have the highlighters I haven't reached for. And I have some ideas, but let's go ahead and swatch these and we'll talk about them. So the first one is Vive. This is the Skin Dew. I'm not sure if this has a shade or this is just a universal product. I have a couple of these squeezy products from Vive and I don't use them because I don't know how to use them. They're very confusing and I have done research, but they still just puzzle me. Like, this is supposed to have a lit from within quality, but it's still a little too gold when I compare it to Nimue and Chanel. Let's talk about these two from Ritual Defeat. I have another one, but we're going to swatch that one last because it's got some glitter. It's a glittery highlight. All right, so this is Phosphine, and here we have Solar Flare. So again, we're working in comparison to the two that I've already worn and that I've been reaching for and that have been on my mind. These two just have not been front and center. So this is Solar Flare, and it has a lot of the same issues that Beige does. In fact, they're almost dupes for each other. So if you've been looking at Solar Flare, you can also get Beige from Salt New York. However, on me, it reads a little too gold. Again, this is not a declutter, this is just an analysis. So that when I'm gonna try and wear all of these, but there's a reason why I haven't reached for a lot of these, and I wanted to talk that through. So this is Phosphine, this is another balm. I don't remember if these dried down or not, or if they stay a little malleable. Now, Phosphine is pretty. It's got more pink to it, but it just doesn't have the shine that I want it to have. Now, these highlighters are old. I've had these for a while. So it may just be that this is getting ready to go off. And that's why it's just not giving me what I want out of it. This is CL. This is Piper. This is one of their Glow and Protect. This I just forget about. I think I got this just before my surgery last year, and it's just easily forgotten, and I don't want it to be because it is beautiful. It really is that lit from within glow that I want from a highlighter, but I just haven't reached for it yet. And that will be front and center on my mind the next time I go to do my makeup, which will probably be tomorrow, and I'll have to remember that I want to use this. All right, last one is The Alchemist. So I haven't reached for this yet because this is an incredibly bright, glittery highlight. I don't want to reach for it every day. I'm sure there are some people who would, and that's fine. But I do occasionally go to parties and I go out and I want that like really fragmented shine. And I'm going out next weekend. There's a big event that I'm going to, and I'm looking forward to using this. So it's not that I haven't thought about it. It's not that I haven't remembered I had it. I just haven't had occasion to wear it yet. All right, so those are all of my cream highlighters. Let's move on to some contours and bronzers. Okay, so going back to my Salt New York palette, I think we're gonna do products that I consider contours first, and then we'll move on to highlights because I don't have any contours that I haven't used. I have used all of my contours in the last couple months. So the first one we're going to talk about is Taupe from Salt, New York. This is a lovely contour. It's easy to blend. I can apply it with my fingers. It doesn't set down, but neither do any of the other Salt, New York products. I don't wear this when I want a face of makeup that's going to last all day. I wear it when I'm leaving the house, just for an afternoon if I'm going to run some errands, go to an appointment, have lunch with a friend. And I know that I'm gonna want my makeup to just be easy and fresh and not look like I put too much effort in. And this contour is perfect for that. Also, the fact that it lives in this palette with another blush and my Salt New York Sneaky Balm, it's easy to pick this palette up and do most of a face of makeup just with this palette. So it's not hard to see why I've used this, and I've used it a lot in the last month. It's a very easy little compact to reach for. This e.l.f. contour has been pretty much the only one I reach for outside of my Salt New York contour. This is beautiful, and given that it's only like $10, I think that makes it eminently useful and accessible, especially if you buy it at the drugstore when it's on sale or when you have coupons or, you know, loyalty rewards. It's really easy to obtain, and it's a beautiful gray. A little goes a long way, so it's going to last a good long time. And I think even on, you know, skin fairer than mine, it might be a little too much. But if you are a shade or two deeper than I am, I think that this would work. This is the lightest shade. This shade range is pretty extensive. It dries down, but it's got this really lovely blurring texture that lasts. It's an incredibly beautiful contour, and I am so glad that I have it, and I will continue to reach for it because it is a shining example of what drugstore makeup and what good drugstore makeup can be. Hindash, this is Carve. This is another really easy bronzer or contour for me to reach for. I no longer have Thorn or Canvas. I have put those in my online Mercari shop to sell because I just don't reach for them. So a lot like the Salt New York, this is going to be a bit of a warmer contour, and it does set down, and it sets down pretty quickly. But given, you know, if you're wearing a much warmer blush, this will work. If you're wearing a cooler blush, the e.l.f. will work. It's just a matter of what it's next to and how it appears. Because it's sitting next to this gray, desaturated contour, it looks really orange. It looks really orange, which is really, you know, kind of funny because I think of this as one of the most versatile contour products that I own. And it, again, it lives front and center, and that's why I've been reaching for it. The Oma, I had to force myself to reach for this because it is getting old, and I don't know if it's available or not, but I still love it. I do think of it, but I reach for other stuff. However, I have reached for it in the last month because it is so stinking easy. It is a big, gigantic stick. All I have to do is dab my brush in. So you can see that it's a nice in-between between the e.l.f. and the Hindash. And it's just so easy to reach for. It's so pretty. It's still got that lovely blurring finish, but you can still see my tattoo and my freckles through it. So it doesn't completely obscure my face. It really is a gorgeous contour. All right, moving on. Let's talk about these liquids. So these are what I consider bronzer products. Some people can use contour as bronzer. Some people can use bronzer as contour. It just depends on the tone of your skin. I like my bronzers to have a little bit more red as opposed to orange or green. So this is the second lightest shade in the Glossier Cloud Paint bronzers. This is the shade Clay. And you'll see that in comparison to the contours, it is warm. It's got a little more richness and it's got a lot of warmth to it. But this also blends and blurs and is just one of the prettiest. Now, I have reached for it. It's not one that I think to reach of very often because it is really small. It gets lost in my my storage, and because it is a liquid, it's a little bit more fiddly. Although it shouldn't be any more fiddly than working with a liquid with a doe foot. But I don't consider it very often, and I should, because it is a lovely little product. This is a sample. This is from Glow Recipe. This is their Niacinamide Glow Hue Drops. These are in the bronzer shade. Now, these are very pigmented. You feel like you're putting on a lot. And in comparison to the rest of my arm, they barely look like anything. However, when you get a little too much product, it can be overwhelming at how quickly this turns orange. So I have added this to my project pan because I want to use it up, but it's going to take a while because you need so little to get just a nice bronze instead of using it all over the face. Let's go with this because it wants to roll everywhere. This is one of the Maybelline lifter sticks. This is another really good example of drugstore makeup at its best. So this is the shade 35. It's like right in the middle. Maybelline does have a really nice range of shades. And if you look at this compared to the rest of the stuff on my arm, some people could use this as a bronzer, some people could use it as a contour. I'm sure that our green friends and our blue undertone friends would want to stay away from this because it would bring out a lot of that yellow and that orange pigment. But you see how nicely it blends in. It is desaturated. It doesn't take much to get a nice smooth application. It's not patchy. It's not picking up on the little hairs on my arm. It's just a really beautiful little stick bronzer. And I want to say it's like $12 to $15. So if you're on a budget, this is another really good product. Again, available at the drugstore. Use a coupon, use your loyalty points, but it's a really good go-to. Speaking of go-tos, this is one that I have gone to so many times, I have some serious pan. So this is the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Skin Enhancer. This is the second lightest shade, so it's light medium. And you can kind of see in comparison to Clay why I go for these redder bronzers. They just seem to work on my skin that has a bit of a pink. I am neutral, but my skin does have a lot of redness, so it appears very pink. And this has the prettiest texture. If I have too much powder on my face, if my makeup is settling into my fine lines, all I have to do is grab a sponge and take this all over my cheeks, and it wakes everything up, it flushes everything out. It is just the absolute prettiest bronzer product I can reach for. It's so nice. All right, so if you've seen me do my makeup in like the last 2 years, you'll see that I have been reaching for this Phytosurgeons bronzer in shade 1 every time I do my makeup. And that's because it is so desaturated. It doesn't look like much of anything except green. And this is the one time that I want that because it helps counteract that bright whiteness that I get under my eyes and helps blend my makeup and my blush into the rest of my face. It makes my under eyes look like they belong on the same face of makeup as the rest of my makeup. Shade 4, I have been doing some color theory experiments, and that may be the next video that we play with. But I have been just loving using this bronzer. You'll see in comparison to shade 1, which is rather warm, this is a much cooler, rosier version. So this line has 12 bronzers. So the odd shades are more golden and the even shades are more rosy. So depending on, regardless of your undertone, you should be able to find something that works for you. This is a blush and bronzer in one for me. It is so pretty. So I have been reaching for this a lot. All right, I started talking and swatching before I hit record on the camera. So this is shade 2 of the Phytosurgeons bronzers in shade Rosy Daybreak against shade 4 in Rosy Warmth. So the reason I haven't been reaching for this is simple. It's usually a winter bronzer for me. I haven't reached for it much, but there's a good reason why. It's not that I don't think about it, I do. I just don't use it this time of year. I start going for things that are a little bit warmer. Speaking of a little bit warmer, this is shade 3. This is Golden Warmth. These are the Spectral Sunlight cream bronzers. So shade 3 is a summer bronzer. It's not the bronzer that I reach for this time of year either. I tend to reach for something a little more neutral, a little more nuanced. But I do really like these two bronzers. They just have their own individual seasons. All right, so this is the Merit Stick Bronzer in the shade Clay. I think, again, this is the second lightest shade. And I haven't been reaching for this because I have been reaching for other stick bronzers. I've been reaching for that Maybelline bronzer. I've been reaching for even the Makeup by Mario bronzer. I haven't been reaching for this because I haven't been reaching for it. It does feel a little orange in comparison to the rest of the bronzers on my arm. I'll have to remember to reach for it and figure out how I feel, and when the time comes, is it worth decluttering? That is what I'm trying to assess here, is how do I feel about these individual products so that come time to declutter, I have more information than just a swatch. All right, we're gonna tackle these Salt New York blushes so that I can get these off my desk and get this one put back where it belongs. So let's just tackle this one. This is one of my most used blushes of the last year. This is Oyster Fig. This again is from the Hannah Louise Poston and Salt New York collection. I love this blush. It is just so natural on me and it works like a dream. Again, not terribly long lasting because they're a balm, but that's how they're designed. They're not designed to last all day. All right, let's tackle these 4. I'm gonna pop them out so I can identify them. Excuse you. All right. Orchid, Waxwing, Old Gum, and Teasel. All right, so these may look the same. They're not. They really are not. So they're cool and warm in alternating depths, just like the Salt New York bronzers. So we have Teasel, which is the warmest, lightest shade. And it does look like it could double as a bronzer on me. We then have Old Gum. I'm not sure where this falls in the warm, cool category. I think this is the one that's more neutral. And let me tell you, when you layer a couple of these on top of each other, it creates the prettiest look. This is Waxwing, which is, I guess, the coolest. So we have warm, neutral, cool. These are all in that light. So she made these in quads going from light to medium to deep. These are the lightest shades. Oyster Fig is in the medium grouping, as I believe is Orchid. Now, I don't love Orchid. I keep it in here because I want to use it and I want to get to know it and I want to, but I think it's a little too muddy. I think it's just a little too muddy for my sensibility. And you might look at it and be like, well, it's almost the same as Oyster Fig, but Oyster Fig has a bit of a purple tone that I just don't know how I feel. I don't remember if I've used Orchid, so I will have to make a conscious attempt to wear this in the next few days. I have used the rest of these. I will have to venture to use Orchid by itself in the next few days. All right, put these away. Let's pull out all of the blushes that we have to play with. So we see what we have. I know, honey. I know how. Okay. So these are all of the blushes that I have worn in the last month. Let's pull out these balm textures. So the Bosma Balm Blush in the shade Mauve, Mauve, is in my project pan. I realize the, what is the word I want? The irony of having a blush in my project pan that I almost never reach for. And that's why it's in my project pan. I would like to finish it. I don't know if I'm going to accomplish that. But you can see here, in comparison to the rest of these beautiful neutral and desaturated blushes, in comparison to the rest of these more nuanced blushes, it's very pink. It's very pink. So I need to start reaching for blushes that have more color to them, especially this one. Let's talk about the Vive Blush Balm in Rosé. I have worn this. I think I layered it with some other stuff because it feels a little bit hollow on my skin. It needs a little bit more pigment to back it up. And unlike some of these other liquid products, this one doesn't have much presence. So it does need a little building up and a little backing up. But again, in comparison to these Salt New York blushes that are so easy to reach for and so eminently useful, it just kind of pales in comparison. That being said, when I used it, I really enjoyed it. And I would like to keep using it and I would like to keep it around. So we're not decluttering. We're taking stock. This does dry down. It's considered a balm, but it does dry down. The Bosma does not. Neither do any of the Salt New York. But right now we're just talking about the balms. The balms are the balm. All right. Merit. This is Bespoke. I love this blush. This is one of my like top 10 blushes because it has that ruddy purple raisininess that I go absolutely nuts for. Now this kinda sorta dries down. It doesn't play very well with others. It doesn't like to have other textures built on top. It doesn't really like going on top of other textures. So things like powder, it doesn't like building up on top of, and it doesn't like having powder put on top of it. So it's a little bit persnickety in that way, but I love it when I want just a light face of makeup. It's right there at the top of my brain. The last one we'll do for these is RMS Spell. I've used this, I like it, but I don't feel like I've had time to bond with it. And I've had this for a while. It may be close to going off. It's kind of the same undertone as the Vive. It is brown, but again, swatched next to these Salt New York blushes, it's got some warmth to it and it almost looks peach. I like this formula because it's got some tackiness to it. It feels like it's going to set down very quickly and it's going to be tenacious. It's not going to fade. But maybe I need to revisit some of these because I've only worn them once or twice. And I really want to approach my declutters with a sense of understanding each product and each formula. So maybe I'll give RMS Spell another shot. All right, let's talk about some of these brighter blushes because they are staring me dead in the face. Now, I live in Ohio. I live in the Northern Hemisphere. It is currently spring. We are at the height of a very wet spring. So it is a season that calls for brighter blushes, for warmer blushes, for blushier, brighter cheeks, juicier cheeks. And this is what we have. This is what I have been playing with. So the Charlotte Tilbury Matte Beauty Blush Wand. This is in Pink Pop. And it is pink. It is pink. I normally don't use that much, but you can see it's got a lot of white backing. So on darker skin, it might appear ashy. This is a liquid and it dries down all the way. And it's stable, it's tenacious. It doesn't mind having powder put on top of it. Doesn't mind going over, you know, balmy bases or bases that are a little more set. I wouldn't put it over a powder foundation, but then I wouldn't put liquid blushes over powder. I would use powder. And it comes in a big tube, but I've used it so much that most of this tube has been used. And it is one of those that when I think of my bright pink blushes, I go to. So it's been used and I have my mind set on the formula and an idea of what I'm going to do with this come declutter season. Some of these I don't, even, you know, the ones I've worn even. So while we're on pink, let's talk about a Lodi from CL. When I first got this, this was all I wore. Was it last summer? Because it is a watermelon pink. It's got a little bit of coral to it. And it's lovely. Now, these blushes, they don't last. Sometimes I find that my face eats them. But this color is so special that I'm willing to put up with that. And because this is a liquid, it dries down. It doesn't have the tenacity of the Charlotte Tilbury, but it's still really beautiful. It's still really beautiful. And that's why I reached for it. Make Beauty. This, I'm still making up my mind as to how I feel. It's a really beautiful color. This is Euphoria. This is their cream blush stick. Their cream stroke as opposed to their balm stroke. I didn't love the balms. I just found them a little hard to work with. So the cream stroke in Euphoria, I mean, look at that color, first of all. That is a spring berry. That is a raspberry, if you will. And it does have a nice texture. It has a nice blend. I find that depending on what I'm trying to layer it over, it can be a little bit patchy. You can see here on the edges, it does patch up just a smidge. I do like it, but I'm still making up my mind. And that is the point of this video, is to allow me to get my thoughts together. This is Singe from Phytosurgence. Last year, I went on a dupe hunt for a blush from Nude Sticks, and this was the closest that I found. I love this blush. It's such an unusual shade of pink. It's got a little coral in there. It doesn't feel like it's got a white backing. You can see the white through the pillow talk or not the Pillow Talk, through Pink Pop from Charlotte Tilbury. This doesn't have that, and these dry down also. They have this really rich texture when you first touch them that feels like melted chocolate, and the finish on them is so pretty. And I love this Phytosurgeons formula. Now, I do have 2 of these that are still in the to be used pile, but I know that they're there and they're on my mind. So this is one of the Yummy Skin Blurring Blushes from Danessa Myricks. This came in my Beautylish Lucky bag this year. It is intense. It is, again, a neon orange. It is neon. It is vibrant. But it's really surprisingly easy to work with when you understand just how vibrant it is. You know how little, you understand how little product to use, whether to use a brush or a sponge or even your fingers, because it does melt to the touch. And I think that that aids in blending. It's such a pretty formula. I would not have gravitated towards this color if I was picking one of these out for myself, but I find it a really fun addition to my makeup collection. And being that we're in spring, I have been reaching for it. This I have been reaching for mostly to get my head around. This is one of the K-Beauty blushes that I bought earlier this year. This is from Pundair, I believe. I don't know where they originate. I know that they're an Asian beauty brand, and this is in shade 04, which doesn't have a name. This is a tackier cream. It's not melty like the Phytosurgeons or the Danessa Myricks. It definitely has more silicones in it. It's blurring. It has some of the same undertones as the Danessa Myricks, but it's got a little bit more what I would call richness. It's got a little bit more depth. So the formula is really nice. I'm just not sure about this color. I'm just not sure about this color. And I think I have some other stuff that is similar in shade and tone to this. I don't know. This is one that I will have to ruminate on and make a decision when I do my declutter. All right. That just leaves the rest of these. So these are going to be the more neutral, cool toned. I think I've got some warmer toned blushes in here. Yeah, I've got Latte and Olay from Finding Ferdinand. I've got a couple Rare Beauty. Let's go ahead and swatch these out and we will discuss. We're going to start with Anastasia Beverly Hills because why not? Stop rolling. My table is not completely flat. And my blushes keep rolling away. This is Latte from Anastasia. It is one of the prettiest, even, smoothing, just all around go-getter blushes that I own. It is a gorgeous formula. It mostly sets down. It's not too emollient or malleable. It doesn't, you know, accentuate texture. It is settling into the line on my wrist, but that's because that's a really deep line. And if you have really deep lines on that on your face, there's no way to combat that. I bought this as a substitute when I ran out of Latte from Finding Ferdinand, which we will go ahead and swatch next. But this in its own right, I really love. Okay, Latte from Finding, nope. Problem is that they make the text so little that I can't tell which one I have. This is Latte. This is the second one I've owned. I bought this one secondhand. And it is, again, it's a really rich, creamy formula. It's not as melty as the as the Phytosurgeons. It's not as stiff as this one. It's really in the middle. It's got a little bit more emollients. It's got a little bit more slip. And you can see there the difference. Apparently, this is supposed to be a dupe for Mimi Beauty from Westman Atelier. I haven't swatched that because it's a site exclusive. I like them both. This one is a little bit more peachy, and that I really appreciate. It's a good starter if I want to add in just a bit of warmth, but I don't want to pick up like a bright orange blush. While we're on Finding Ferdinand, let's talk Olay, because this is a blush that I can reach for year round. I'm surprised I haven't hit pan or even finished it by this point. I have reached for it, it's just not one that I reach for all the time. It is that lovely middle of the road beige. It's got some neutrality. It's a little bit deeper than Latte, but that's the point. These were made in a collection of 3 depths. And again, I appreciate that so much when brands come out with the same color, just in a different depth. I've used it. I've got my thoughts together on it, and I really love it. Virtue from Rare Beauty. I love this formula. It's a really good formula if you're just starting out with makeup, if you're just figuring out where you want to go. The shade range is extensive, almost overwhelmingly so. This is the one that I was thinking of when I talked about this one being similar in color and tone. And I think it's a little bit easier to use. I like this formula. I like that it dries down. I like that it is nice and blurring. Same with this shade. This is Encourage. The formula is great. I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about this color, because you'd think that I would go nuts for it because it's similar to a lot of the purpley beiges that I already own. But there's something about this color that I just haven't found my groove. Now I'm going to compare that to Lust from Rituel de Fille, because Lust is one of my OG favorite blushes. I have had this for years. I have replaced it. The first one I didn't use up, but I did hit pan, and that's a big deal. This is one that I did not want to be without. So you see how this is purple, but it's got a little bit of a rusty red to it that Encourage just doesn't have. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. I'm still getting my ducks in a row about how I feel about this particular blush. Those are all of the cheek products that I have used and the ones that I haven't used in the last 2 months. Let's talk about the blushes that I have not used, and we will wrap this video up. I feel like something got lost in the shuffle here because I know that some of these are blushes that I have used. I guess I don't remember how I felt about them, or I needed to re-examine them. Anyway, these are the blushes I have not used in the last 2 months or so, which is funny because I only got this in like January, February, and I feel like I've reached for it since then. But we're going to swatch and we're going to talk and we're going to do some comparisons. And if I remember that I've used it, that's great. If not, we'll go into some deep dive and figure out why. I feel like I need my therapist here to talk me through and be like, why haven't you used it? Since we just touched on Rare Beauty, let's go with these two. One of these is Charm and the other is Hope. So this mini guy is Charm. Let's scooch some of these over so that I have space in frame to swatch. So I think the reason I haven't used this is that it really has not imprinted itself in my brain. I did get this last year just before my back surgery, so it kind of went into my makeup stash without going through rigorous testing and figuring out how I feel about it. However, look at that color. Look at that color. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. And when it comes to coral blush, I can justify a lot of blush because they are all so different. They are all so different. It's really, so I think you know what's going to happen to this one when I do my declutter. Hope. Hope is a beautiful middle of the road starter, not quite sure where to go. This is a great place to start. But I haven't reached for these probably because I have so many other blushes that I know how I feel and they've just gotten overlooked. I know how I feel about this formula and they've just gotten overshadowed by things that I haven't had my thoughts together on. And I know that I like this formula. So I could even throw these, I could throw Hope into my tested bin because I know how I feel about it. Charm, I have to play with the color. I have to play with the color on it. It's just really special and I want to wear it. I want to wear it. While we are talking orange blushes, let's hit on Ember from Phytosurgeons. I bought this last year as a hope for it being a dupe for that Nude Sticks blush, and it wasn't, but it's still pretty. And given how many coral and orange blushes I have, you'd think I'd wear them more. And I need to, but I reach for boring beige blush all the time. And this is why I'm swatching before I'm decluttering. I'm making choices and I'm prioritizing. We got to talk about RMS Modest while we're hitting on these orange blushes. Now this one doesn't have the tackiness and the stiffness that Spell had, but they may be going off at different rates. I don't know. But look at those two, and they're different. They're different. They're different formulas. I know that I like this formula. I don't remember how well it lasts. So I'm gonna have to test this one again and figure out my feelings. Another coral blush to the party. This is from Bloom Effects. This is Coral Crisp. This has survived and been resurrected from several declutters because I just cannot let it go. It is, you know, it's a little fussy being a liquid without a doe foot or without any, you know, an easy application method. But it is so pretty. It's in here because I don't remember how I feel about it. And I've forgotten about it. Plain and simple. I've just forgotten that it exists. And that's why I'm talking about these, because I need to give them another chance. All right. That's all the corals. This we're going to talk about because it is a category unto itself. This is Scorch from Phytosurgeons. It looks brown, but it's got some of the same qualities as Lust in that it's got a bit of a purpley base, but it's got more red. And if I want like a really dramatic contoured blush look, this is a really good one to go for. I need to remember that this weekend, next weekend when I go out, to wear this blush. Finding Ferdinand. Let's talk macchiato. So this is the third one in that string of blushes from Khaki Reviews Beauty that started with Latte and Olay. I like this color and I love how smooth and even. This one's a little patchy. There it goes. I love how just kind of middle of the road terracotta this is. And I know I like this formula, but I don't know why I haven't reached for it. I can't explain that. And that's okay. While we're on Finding Ferdinand, let's talk Sunrise. This is also a Khaki Reviews beauty and Finding Ferdinand collab. This was a different collab from the coral blushes, or the beige and the coral blushes. I think I haven't reached for this because it's so similar to so many other things in my collection. It's just so close in color to things like this Rhode Pocket Blush in Tan Lines, which it isn't, but it feels like it is. You know, these pocket blushes are, I don't know if this one is an outlier because it's a newer color and newer formula, but I think it's lovely. I haven't tried the other formulas. Again, I haven't reached for this because I know that I've used it within the last 6 months, and I have an inkling about how I feel about it. Sunrise, however, I have not used in a long time because I don't remember that it exists. It sits there in its little pot with my other Finding Ferdinand and my other Phytosurgeons blushes, and it just kind of blends in. So maybe I need to think about storing these upside down so that I can see the color. All right, we're going to talk about these last 6 blushes. This is Stockholm. This is another Merit Beauty blush in that gorgeous formula. I don't know why I haven't reached for this. It's really beautiful. It's a gorgeous bright pink. It would be lovely on the front of a beige cheek, just make the apple of the cheek pop. And I haven't remembered that it exists. Despite seeing this bright pink color at the top of my bin, I haven't reached for it. Speaking of pink, this is Westman Atelier Petal. I think if I only had like one mid-tone pink blush, if this was my only mid-tone blush, I would be fine with that. But it's not. So I've been reaching for other things, mostly again, because I've used this in the last 6-8 months. I mean, not that new because I only bought it in December, but I remember that it exists. I remember that the color is beautiful. I don't remember how it wears. I don't remember its tenacity. I don't remember how it applies. Plain and simple. This is a Westman Atelier blush lighter. So it's a combination of blush and highlight, again in Petal. And I haven't reached for this because I just haven't found like I have occasion to, just like with the Alchemist from Rituel de Fille. However, it's lovely and I should just smear it all over my cheeks. We have Hindash. This is another one of the color fluids in Heartist. This is going to be the same story. I haven't reached for this because I know how I feel about it. And this is the overarching notion that I'm coming to, is that I am not a minimalist. By no stretch of the imagination am I a minimalist. This is my thought process in that I am not a minimalist. I am a maximalist. I am a give me all the blush, all the colors, all the formulas. So it's going to be hard to whittle this down come declutter season, but I'm going to have to because I have so many beautiful blushes that are just falling by the wayside because I have so many others that are rising to the top. This one has kind of fallen by the wayside. This is another Pillow Talk Matte Beauty Blush Wand in the shade Pillow Talk. This is a gorgeous blush. It's so used that it might go in my project pan. But look at that shade. Look at that shade. Look at the finish, look at the glide, the blur. The way that it blends is just Mwah, chef's kiss. And the last one is this blush from Girl Cult. I don't know what the shade is on this, but again, I got this at the end of January and I've used it and I seem to remember how I feel about it. And it's lovely. I think I picked up too much. It is that beautiful windswept, rosy-cheeked stunner of a blush. All right, we have to do these Salt New York blushes, and I've got some highlighty blushes. So let's start with those. The primary reason I haven't reached for these is because I haven't seen them. They've been stuck in my shelving next to my filming space, and I just don't reach over there for makeup. So I have put them together in this palette that can fit on my storage cart a lot easier. So let's talk about these. This is Toasted Coconut. I remember this and I really like it. It's a little green, but come the middle of summer, when I have a bit of a tan, pretty. Sparkling Peach. These are a combination of her blush and highlighter formula, but they're not the Salt New York and Hannah Louise Poston collab. These are much older than that. I do have a couple in here from that collection, and we'll talk about those next. Rust. So she has a blush called Terracotta, which we will swatch possibly next. But for the longest time, this was the ruddiest blush that Salt New York offered. So there is Terracotta. Terracotta has since been discontinued. I'm not sure how old that pan is, but I have it because I want to use it. We have Spice, which again, I think has been discontinued. These two pans have rounded corners, and a while ago, Salt New York switched to square corners. So I know how old these are, and that's okay by me. Mauve. Even compared to the mauve that I have from Bosma in my project pan, that mauve is a lot more desaturated. It's a lot less bright pink. Persimmon. I mean, how can you go wrong with this pinky coral beautiness? It's kind of a crime that these have not been used as much as I would like. So one of these is, this is anise seed, and the other is corduroy. And I haven't reached for these because I think it was a mistake to buy them. They're not for me. I can make just about anything work, but I don't love these. I don't love these. It is entirely possible that I could find somebody to rehome them with, but I would like to give them a try and see if I can work and if that's possible. Those are all of the blushes that I have not used. And in talking about it, I am realizing that there are a couple of reasons as to why something would not be used. So pulling in the bronzers and the highlighters as well. So there's a couple different reasons why these haven't been used yet. They're either a formula that's a bit persnickety and that I just haven't used, that I just don't want to think about using because it leaves me with a question mark hanging over my head. They are things that are out of season. So things that I use in the cooler months, in the warmer months, and they will have their turn eventually. I'm not worried about those. They are products that have a lot of similar competition and they need to stand out. So I need to remember that these exist and figure out how to do that when I have a sea of beigey pink blushes. Again, they get lost in the shuffle, or they're just not working the way they used to, or they're not, you know, I have grown away from them and I would like to return to give them another try before I go through my declutters and I get rid of them when I could possibly still be enjoying it. This I don't use because it's not really intended as a blush. It's more of a mixer, but I would still like to reach for it even in the format that it wasn't intended for. I do enjoy this product and I'm surprised it's still working as well as it is. So part of the problem has been storage. Part of the problem has been that I don't see things. I don't keep them in my eye line when I'm reaching for cream cheeked. And that right there is an issue that can be easily resolved. They are not products that I've really had a chance to bond with, so I forget that they exist. Or they're things that I have used, with the exception of like overlooking products that I've had for a really long time. They look just like other products. This looks like so much like the Blush and Protect that I forget I also own the highlighter. Again, you know, I have a lot of coral blushes, and before I did this, I didn't realize I had that many coral blushes. I have not been buying makeup. The last time I bought makeup was the Yes Style haul that I did in January, but these are gonna get some use, as is this. And these are things that I loved. Or Scorch is one that I really haven't had a chance to play with and get to know. These are blushes that I know I really like. I love, oh, nope, this is a highlighter. This is The Alchemist. I just haven't been going to events where this is appropriate. That is going to change. So it's gonna get some use. And these two I've acquired so recently that I understand my feelings about them. I just need to do a bit more research on their performance. So how many cream cheek products have I used versus how many haven't I used? So in here I have 10 cream cheek products. I have 10 pans from Salt New York. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 32. So some of these are not going to get used. These two bronzers, I'm not going to use them because I know how I feel about them and I know when the season is to use them. Same with The Alchemist. There is a time and a place for this product and it's just not now. It will be soon, but it's not now. Same with the blush lighter from Westman Atelier. I will use this come, you know, slightly warmer weather when I'm wearing more of a pink cheek. Hindash is not quite a blush. It's a little bit more of a mixer and an addition product. I will make special strides to use this. Same with the rest of these. I will keep them in this bin. Maybe I will put this on top of the stuff I've already used. I've been putting the used bin on top, but I think I need to invert that now because I have so few blushes that I've not used that I need to correct that. And the rest of these have just gotten overlooked. They've been overlooked. They're all the middle child and they leave me with a little bit of a puzzlement. So let's, you know, balance that by giving the ones that I have used a nice little head count. So that's 3. Seven. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Okay, that's funny that I have almost separated this into halves. I think that's funny and slightly appropriate. So I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope that this was a nice little relaxing video to zone out to and just enjoy some blush and cream cheek playtime. I'll probably do one of these for my powders before I start declutter season. So thank you for staying with me today. If you are new here and you made it to the end of the video, welcome. My name is Rachel. I'm an artist. I'm neurodivergent. I'm also disabled. And obviously I love makeup. I hope you are taking care of yourselves so you can take care of each other, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, friends.